Hey guys, welcome to my channel. So in this video, we're gonna talk about Next.js. We're gonna talk about why I would choose Next.js instead of create React app. So some of the points that I think are awesome when I used Next.js. So what is Next.js? Let us just go to their website, which I have right here. So Next.js is just a React framework for production. So they say Next.js gives you the best developer experience with all features you need for production. Hybrid static and server rendering, TypeScript support, smart building, route per fetching, and more. No config needed. So this is the main idea of Next.js. So according to me, it gives you the best performance for a React app out of the box with zero configuration. So if you want the performance of Next.js using a create React app, you would have to you would have to spend a lot of time in the configuration part. So you need to like build your webpack so that it kind of gives you the best efficiency of for your application that you're building. But using Next.js, a lot of these configuration that you do manually happens out of the box. It just gives you, which is really helpful when it comes to production. So if you see anywhere blogs on Next.js versus the traditional create React app, you would see this main thing. You would see SSR versus I think it's CSR. Yes, so SSR standing for server side rendering, CSR standing for client side rendering. So there's this really good blog right here by John Tucker, which explains this part. So SSR versus CSR. So what is SSR? So SSR again stands for server-side rendering. CSR is client-side rendered. So SSR is what Next.js uses out of the box, and CSR is the one that uses create React app. So again, using create React app, you can also have SSR in create React app, but you would have to write a separate node server for it. And again, there's a lot of manual work. So, so this explains really great about the awesomeness of SSR, the good thing of SSR. The main difference is that for SSR, your server response to the browser is the HTML of your page that is ready to be rendered, while for CSR, the browser gets a pretty empty document which links to your JavaScript. This means your browser will start rendering the HTML from your server without having to wait for all the JavaScript to be downloaded and executed. In both cases, React will need to be downloaded and go through the same process of building a virtual DOM and attaching events to make the page interactive. But for SSR, the user can start viewing the page while all of this is happening. But for CSR, you would need to wait for all the above to happen. So basically what this means is, let's just say you are going to a website created by Create React App. Once you go into the particular website, what your browser does is it downloads all the JavaScript from the server which is hosting the website. So if you go to /about page, it downloads all the content from the about page. This might take some time, like half a second or something. So in the time you get a loading sign, and then your content comes to the screen. But in Next.js, since it's server-side rendered by default, what happens is when the website is building, when the website hits the server just spits out the HTML so that it's just right there. So the initial data is right there. So so just to summarize, exactly like how it says here, the downloading happens for server-side rendering apps, but but the data is there because it's already present when the build is generated. So if this sounds a bit confusing, maybe I can do a deeper video on SSR versus CSR. But what you need to understand is SSR, you just get data just like that, no loading. But CSR, the loading is there. So that's one thing you know. The other thing is, if you see the Lighthouse scores with SSR pages versus CSR pages, the Lighthouse scores for SSR is greater than CSR. You get good performance. So if you don't know what Lighthouse score is, it's just a way of measuring performance for your application. So if you just put your URL for your application in a website in a site that actually calculates Lighthouse, so you can just Google just Lighthouse score here. you can get the Lighthouse score, and the Lighthouse score, the performance of your SSR apps is greater than CSR. So this is something that you see everywhere. SSR is CSR, Next.js is SSR, so it's cool. So uh, just like Gatsby is also SSR, but with Next.js you can also have dynamic sites. Gatsby is only for static. So that is one main thing, service CSR, which you see everywhere. But other than this, there are some points that I like a lot about Next.js. The one main thing other than this SSR, the other main thing, sorry, is routing. Routing in Next.js. So if you have never used Next.js, if you just use Create React App, you would all know that for routing, you would have to download a React router, and then you would or then you would need to configure your router with your application. You need to have a router.js files. You need to have your routes. You need to connect the routes with the components that it is connected to. So you need to add all this before you go into building your application. So, but for Next.js, it is file-based routing. So if you had used Gatsby.js, Gatsby.js is also file-based routing. The same concept is applied to Next.js. So what is file-based routing? So let's just check out the docs quickly for this. It's really, really, really simple. There's no configuration, nothing. So if you see here, so let's just say you want a blog page. So if you go to /blogs, you need to like get get the page for the blog page. So in Next.js, all you need to do is Next.js gives you this folder called pages by default in the root directory. So all you need to do is you need to create a new folder called blog in this pages, and have an index.js file where all your code goes related to the blog site. So this automatically generates the route. So if you have this folder structure, pages /blog /index.js, the code that goes into index.js is automatically connected to /blog. So this is how you create routes. It's file-based routing. It is really simple. Just create files under the pages folder, and your routes automatically created. So there's a bunch of other stuff that you can have dynamic routes. So if you have a dynamic slug, you can have something like this slug in a box bracket. If you like have a lot of things that comes after a particular um, what do you call endpoint or something, you can add this tree route. So I'm not going to go deep into this, but it is file-based routing, no configuration. uh, it saved a lot of time for me. I found this really, really, really helpful. I found this really great, which is awesome. I really like file-based routing by default because of Next.js. I used this in Gatsby, but I didn't work in Gatsby a lot. Next.js, I really like it a lot. So routing is one thing. The next thing is your image and assets. So uh, Next.js has static file serving by default. What this means is, let's just say you have an image. So all you need to do is add the image in the public directory, and this image is served statically. So if you have this structure, so inside the public folder, which is there by default when you create a Next app, if you add your image, you can access it like this, and this is statically served, which means, for example, if you deploy your site, if this is like something www.example.com, if you go to www.example.com /assets /myimage.png, you get the image. So it is already served by default. Again, you can do this with Create React App, but you need to do some configuration. With Next.js, it's out of the box. So that is the other thing. And then other than this, there are a bunch of different things, but I'm just talking about the things that I like the most. The next thing is code splitting. You get code splitting by default. So let's just go to Next.js main site. If you see over here, you get a lot of things: TypeScript support, API routes, inbuilt CSS support. Again, you get this, but I think you get this from Create React App. If you don't, you need to like configure it. Next.js, you get it by default. File-based routing, which we talked about already. Code splitting and bundling. So what does code splitting mean? Code splitting is basically, for example, let's just say you have a website with 4 routes, uh, and let's just say you have low internet connection. So once a user goes into the website, if you have low internet, what your site does, it needs to download the data for this four routes that you have, and this might take time. So for example, let's just say for example one route has 10 kb of data, you need to download 40 kb of data. But with code splitting, what happens is, let's just say your user is in slash about page, and Next.js by default would only download data for the slash about page, which is 10 kb. So instead of downloading 40 kb of content, it only downloads data for the one particular page for 10 kb, which is really helpful if you have really low internet speed. So if you have low internet speed, it's much faster to like download 10 kb of data and just show the one page than downloading the complete data for your site and then showing the page, which would take more time compared to the 10 kb version. So this again is happening by default using Next.js. That is why this is like made like really awesome for production. Zero configuration, but you get good performance. So this is my points. That's it. This is my points why I choose Next.js instead of Create React App, and why you should try out Next.js too. So if you hadn't already, uh, and then what else? If you, and This is the good thing about Next.js. If you compare to Create React App, the difference if in building the components, there's literally no difference. What I like to look at Next.js is like Next.js is like the superset of Create React App. So just like how TypeScript is a superset of JavaScript, Next.js is like a superset of Create React App. The way you build your components is the same. The difference is in the other smaller parts like routing, code splitting, server-side generation, and all that. So these are my points why I like Create React App. I would choose I would choose Next.js instead of Create React App. So to summarize, one is SSR versus CSR, routing, code splitting, and the assets, image assets, and there are a bunch of other things which I might have missed, but these are my points. So that's it, guys. So these are my thoughts on Next.js. If I missed something or if I'm wrong about something, please let me know in the comments. If you like this video, please do consider subscribing, which helps this channel a lot. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.